I'm trying to, I'll wait for Mr. Pallone. He seems distracted. I'm trying to figure out what the rule does that the Department of Energy is asking for or trying to promulgate. Mr. Pallone, do you own a gas stove? Does it meet the new standards or not? You said half of the ones that exist do. And
I do not know.
You do not know?
No, I know. Look, I love you, but one of the points I'm trying to make here is that, I can't spend, maybe you can, and God bless you, but I can't spend all my time figuring out whether my stove meets the standards or not. I mean, I just have a lot to do. I can't answer your question. I haven't checked the stove before I came here. I just haven't.
I appreciate your honesty.
Okay.
I mean, that's the question. I'm trying to figure out, does my stove?
My understanding is this, and you cut me off if you want. My understanding is that these are proposed rules from the DOE that would take effect 3 years from when they're finalized, which they have not been, right? It doesn't affect any stove that you have now at all, right? You don't have to change it. You don't have to throw it out. You can continue to use it. And I'm not disagreeing with what Mrs. Fishbach and Mr. Rochensteller said, that statements have been made, but that's not what's in the rule. Those are statements that were made, and people make statements, maybe they shouldn't have, but there's nothing in the rule says 3 years from the finalization, and they put together certain efficiency standards for new stoves, so, newly manufactured stoves.
I mean, when you burn a fuel in the presence of oxygen, it gives off a set amount of energy. I am trying to figure out how they make it more energy efficient.
I don't know. I couldn't answer that.
What I'm concerned about as I read through the rules, they're just making the burner smaller, the biggest burner on the stove.
Again,
I mean, if you put in a certain amount of gas, you're going to get a certain amount of heat out. There's not a whole lot you can do to change that. So I'm wondering what's the difference. These are genuine, honest questions. I'm also wondering if a lot of our electricity comes from natural gas plants. And the engineering tells you this, but just common sense would tell you this. You can burn the natural gas at a plant in a turbine. You can spin some generators and generate electricity, ship it a couple hundred miles to somebody's house, and then you turn on an electric element and try to generate heat from something that started as heat, went into electricity, and came back to heat. That's going to be a lot less efficient than burning the natural gas at the house directly. I can just tell you, I don't know what the efficiency is, but it's not even going to approach 50% efficiency. When you try to turn something like natural gas into electricity and then ship it across, even if it's 20 miles, even if you're next door to the power plant, shifting forms of electricity to get back, shifting forms of energy, you're going to lose something at every stage. So if this rule causes more people to buy electric stoves instead of gas stoves, they're going to have to burn more gas to cook the same food. I mean, that's why I think one of my colleagues here mentioned earlier that people who use natural gas, maybe you know this, Mr. Duncan, they save money, don't they, over electric appliances and natural gas appliances?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mentioned earlier that the cost savings is minuscule. And
for the rule, the rule cost savings.
So to comply, the manufacturers, to your point earlier, are basically removing some burners, so you have fewer burners on the gas appliance, and they would lower the heat. They would put a thermocoupler in there or something to lower the heat on that burner, which means it's going to take longer to cook. That means about the same amount of gas is probably burned to produce the same product, and that is the cooked food on the new gas stoves. And, I'm very interested to hear that so many people have gas stoves in their home. But one of the things that the DOE points to is the air emissions and the air quality. But these are older stoves that they continue to have. They're not concerned about their own air quality, or they'd be doing something else. They'd be taking them out and putting electric stoves in today. In fact, they like the efficiency and the cost savings they get from a natural gas-fired stove because it's efficient, it cooks their food in a timely manner, and it saves them money. So I just wanted to point that out.
I mean, it's almost comical to me. I'm sitting here reading the rule, and I'm several dozens of pages into it. And maybe it has something to do with the pilot light as well, although there seems to be some existing rule on pilot lights already. But you can't get any more heat out of, a certain amount of natural gas when you burn it. There are engines and motors, or engines, turbines that are more efficient than other engines and turbines. But when you just burn the flame, I'm wondering if we're talking about efficiency here, or we're just talking about the size of the burner. Because if you're talking about the size of the burner, it's not about efficiency. Did you want to comment on that?
Well, I just want to point out that there's nothing in this proposed rule that's trying to get you to go to an electric stove. I mean, you still would have a gas stove, just making it more efficient. So I don't want to give the impression that the department's rulemaking is trying to tell people that you should use an electric stove. I mean, Ms. Leisure Fernandez pointed out that people are going to continue to use gas for all kinds of reasons. They like the food, they like the product. We're not suggesting you move to electric.
Well, I guess I need to know how the rule makes things more efficient.
I couldn't answer that.
That
See, again,
troubles
what
me.
you're doing, and I know I know, and I'm not criticizing you for it.
It's
You
fine.
want to substitute, you want to look at all the details about what the department's doing and how they got to this stage and substitute your own analysis. That's fair. But I think that what this bill does is basically say that this department's not going to be able to do this now or in the future. And I think that's a mistake, because if they don't have the expertise and they don't have the opportunity to do this, we're not going to be able to substitute our opinion for it each time.
Well,
Maybe.
Sorry to interrupt. I think I gave quite a bit of time. I don't want to substitute my opinion. I want to know the facts. And so I've asked factual questions. How does the rule make the appliance more efficient? Because then maybe we can figure out how it's going to make it more expensive. I mean, why are half of the appliances not in compliance, or 96%, or whoever's number you want to take? Were they just bad engineers, or were they actually making a product that people want and that has a bigger burner? I don't know. We don't even know the answers to these things. If Congress doesn't know what the Department of Energy is doing or seeks to do with these rules, then we shouldn't let them do it. And, yeah, Mr. Duncan.
Well, I just want to point out that Congress passed the Energy Policy and Conservation Act to provide the Department of Energy with the authority to issue energy efficiency standards that, one, save a significant amount of energy, and two, are cost-effective for consumers. There's no study that shows this saves a significant amount of energy, and as I point out, there's no effective cost savings there for the consumer. If you think about this push for electrification by the left, they really don't want that natural gas-fired power plant to produce that electricity. They want it produced by wind and solar, in some utopian mindset that there's going to be enough wind and solar to supplicate or replace the natural gas-fired power plants that are out there. And it's not. The economics just don't add up with land mass and available sunlight during the day, available wind energy. So this is a proposed rule that surely indicates and truly indicates that the Biden administration just has a war on natural gas because it is a fossil fuel. I think that's clear and simple.
The longer you take to boil a pot of water, the longer that pot's hot and the more energy it loses to the environment. Like, doing something and taking longer to do it when you're using heat generally results in less efficiency. So I mean, I'm going to try to struggle through this to understand the science of it and the thermodynamics before we go to the floor tomorrow. But back to the committee work that you did, you said that it was bipartisan. Which bill is that you were
Both of them. Both the bills before us are bipartisan. And in fact, the gas stove ban was included in H.R. 1, and 29 Democrats voted in favor of it on the floor.
So you're saying you had co-sponsors?
Had votes in committee.
And votes in committee. Democrats in your committee voted for this.
That's correct. It passed bipartisan.
Well, I think we should have a bipartisan vote for this rule tonight. I would hope we'd see that same spirit of bipartisanship, and I yield back.
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentlemen,
For the Rules Committee rule, not the not the DOE rule.
gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for